They didn't listen to his words, only how he said them. They laughed. They mocked his accent in a courtroom of law, until justice flipped the script, and they paid dearly. This is the story of Gene Point, an immigrant wrongly humiliated in an American courtroom, and how he turned disgrace into a multi-million-dollar victory. This is a story about justice denied and justice reclaimed. Gene Point was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, in 1978. His early life was shaped by hardship, not unlike millions of others in the Caribbean. Haiti was a nation still healing from dictatorship, economic turmoil, and political instability. Gene grew up watching his parents struggle to feed 5 children, taking odd jobs, bartering for school supplies, and praying for a better future. As a teenager, Gene would spend weekends shadowing his uncle, a mechanic, learning to fix engines and troubleshoot wiring. But his dream wasn't just to survive, it was to escape. At 26, after years of saving and waiting, Gene Point was granted a visa to the United States. Like many immigrants, he came with almost nothing: a duffel bag, $87, and the phone number of a cousin in Miami. In the U.S., Gene worked hard. He took 2 jobs, warehouse by day, kitchen porter by night. He learned English by watching the local news with subtitles. He married another Haitian immigrant, Lisette, and they had 2 children. By 2013, he had permanent residency, a used Nissan Altima, and a modest rented home. He wasn't rich, but he was proud. That pride would soon be shattered. In February 2017, Gene was working at a construction site in Broward County. He had just been promoted to equipment operator at a roofing material supplier. On a rainy Thursday, while transporting a heavy load, the forklift Gene was operating slipped due to faulty tires and poor visibility. The machine tipped over, trapping Gene's right leg. The injury was severe. Gene suffered a compound fracture, required 2 surgeries, and was prescribed months of physical therapy. Doctors told him he might never regain full mobility. What made things worse? His employer's response. Instead of compensating Gene through workers' compensation, which he was legally entitled to, the company claimed he was at fault. They argued Gene had misused the machine and refused to pay his medical bills or disability wages. He was effectively fired while in the hospital bed. With no income, no insurance, and no help, Gene decided to take them to court. Gene filed a civil lawsuit against his employer in late 2018. His case was strong. He had medical records, maintenance logs showing the forklift was overdue for service, and witnesses who confirmed weather conditions were dangerous. The trial began in early 2019, and this is where Gene's nightmare truly began. The court was supposed to be neutral, impartial, and professional, but the tone of the proceedings changed the moment Gene began to speak. Gene's Haitian accent was thick, but his English was functional. He had rehearsed. He answered questions clearly, yet the defense attorney repeatedly interrupted him, saying things like, "Could you repeat that? I didn't catch that accent." The judge chuckled at several of Gene's responses. During one break, the court stenographer was overheard saying, "I have no idea what that guy just said. Hope they brought subtitles." In official transcripts, Gene's words were butchered, filled with omissions, paraphrased incorrectly or marked as inaudible. Jurors, influenced by the courtroom's tone, appeared visibly disinterested when Gene spoke. One even rolled their eyes. A key moment came when Gene tried to explain that the employer refused to provide rain covers on the forklift, a policy violation. But the court reporter marked it as something about rain. Unclear. In contrast, the employer's defense was presented smoothly, with no scrutiny over their language. After 5 days, the verdict came back. Gene lost. No damages. No compensation. Just silence. Gene felt humiliated, powerless, and voiceless in a country that promised opportunity. Gene could have walked away. Most people do. But something inside him refused to let this go. With the help of a civil rights nonprofit, the Immigrant Justice Legal Center, Gene filed a federal civil suit against the Broward County Court and court officials alleging racial discrimination, national origin bias, intentional obstruction of justice, violations of the 14th Amendment, equal protection under the law. This wasn't about forklift safety anymore. It was about a broken system. His legal team combed through the trial audio and court records. What they found was disturbing. Transcripts didn't match audio. Key statements were removed or altered. The court reporter had made sarcastic comments online about thick accents in courtrooms. Internal emails revealed mockery between court staff referencing Gene as Captain Creole. The evidence was damning. In depositions, multiple employees admitted to laughing at Gene's voice behind closed doors. When the story hit the local press, immigrant communities across Florida erupted in outrage. Advocates said Gene's case wasn't isolated. It was just the one that got exposed. By 2020, the lawsuit gained national attention. CNN, NPR, and the New York Times all covered the unfolding story. Hashtags like #JusticeForGene began trending. Gene didn't speak much in interviews, but when he did, he said this: "I worked hard. I pay tax. I did everything right. Why my voice is joke to them." In early 2021, the federal court reached a verdict. On March 19, 2021, U.S. District Judge Elaine Rodriguez ruled in favor of Gene Point. In a 47-page opinion, she wrote, "This court failed its most basic duty, to listen. The mocking, distortion, and erasure of the plaintiff's testimony amounts to an institutional act of discrimination." The court ordered $2.7 million in damages to Gene, termination of the court reporter, mandatory diversity and bias training for court staff, a formal public apology. It was one of the largest language discrimination verdicts in U.S. history. Gene used part of the money to fund scholarships for Haitian students in Florida. He also launched a small organization called Voices Equal, offering legal support to non-native English speakers facing systemic bias. His story became a case study at several law schools. It was cited in 18 subsequent court rulings regarding courtroom accessibility. Gene Point, once mocked for how he sounded, had forced the system to listen. Gene now lives quietly with his family. He still walks with a limp. He rarely speaks to the media, but his case left a mark. In 2022, the state of Florida passed legislation requiring certified language accessibility training for all courtroom staff. The American Bar Association revised its ethics training to include linguistic discrimination as a formal category of bias. And across the country, more immigrants are filing complaints, armed with Gene's case as precedent. Gene never asked to be an activist. He just wanted to be heard. And in the end, his words were ignored, his accent mocked, his pain erased. But Gene Point's fight reminds us that dignity should never depend on how you speak. Injustice isn't always violent. Sometimes it hides in silence, in laughter, in the unchecked bias of those in power. If this story moved you, share it, because in a world that listens only to power, we choose to listen to the unheard.